Hi, welcome to Astrology for Gann Traders. My name's Olga. Now, today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I've been researching the eclipses coming up, and in my files, I found this picture behind me. And, I'm looking at it, I'm thinking that looks like an eclipse, okay? And so, yeah, I did a bit of research into it, and I could also see that the planets involved. So, anyway, how does it linking to the eclipse coming up on the 12th of August in Leo? It's incredible how these things happen when I do research and everything's linked somehow. So, yeah, let's dig in and I'll show you what it's all about. So, this is actually an eclipse in Leo. Okay, I was able to work it out when it was, and it's actually in 1683. Okay, so this is when I became very excited about. Wow. Okay, but I could also see symbols for the outer planets. You can see Saturn. That looks like Mars and Jupiter. This obviously this person has also included some aspects that they were expecting possibly in that year. And I thought, okay, so I was able to find the source of this. I'll go back to it anyway, but this is all related to this eclipse somehow on the 12th of August in Leo. Okay, so this is the pathway of this eclipse that's coming up, and you can see the center line is going through parts of this area here, but also going through Spain. Okay, and sort of tipping over into parts of Italy as well. So when you go in a little bit closer, like eclipses are supposed to be active at least 90 days before, according to Gann rules, but often they can be 3 years before. But what happens is they put areas in the spotlight, okay? And if you read all the astrology books on the mundane astrology, they say to expect the areas under where the pathway occurs for there to be mundane events happening at that time. And this happens, obviously, only this weekend. We had this situation in, well, it's actually Morocco and the Spanish borders, okay? So there looked like it was a invasion, but it was just people crossing over the borders. But the fact that it's the eclipse is going through Spain, exactly in that area. I mean, you can see Morocco here. So this is the center line, and these are the partial lines. Okay, like this. It always blows my mind, and the fact that Spain was already highlighted. They won the World Cup, and there's other things that have been happening in Spain that have been really important. So, eclipses put areas. Their pathway puts them in the spotlight. Okay, this is known, and it can create also seismic activity. It was known that eclipses often have a correlation, or people don't say that it causes it, but often there are earthquakes and volcanic eruptions and wild weather, because you got to think of it. They're all aligning. There's a big pull on the earth, okay? So this is, I put the actual map now on, the eclipse as a geodetic plotting. This is my new software. It's Astro Gold that I'm happy to have both on my MacBook and on my PC now. And I think the charts look really good. And what I've done here, I've actually put the midpoints in as well. So this eclipse that's coming up on the 12th has some amazing midpoints, and you can do that visually. And I just wanted you to have a look at these lines going through specific countries and cities. You can see that the eclipse is actually rising over Los Angeles in this part of the United States. Then it goes all the way through Greenland, comes into the top here, going through Russia and then through the Middle East here. There are lines going through Cairo. Okay, these are the midpoints that I've put here. So just have a look at these lines. But the one that I'm looking at here is actually the eclipse actually culminating, which means it's going above Japan and parts of Australia, obviously. So this area here. Okay, so I don't want to focus too much on it, but these are the things that we can do as astrologers with astrocartography and, you know, highlighting not just the pathway of the eclipse, but where is it geodetically on the world map. So keep this, maybe you can just take a shot of this and see what's happening. I mean, I know there's already been today, there's been some sort of earthquake here higher up in Northern California, and we've already had something in Japan. So these are already alerting you to. So the work of Carl Toby Payne, he spoke about all eclipses are moon wobbles, and that time and space are unstable, and more likely that 3 weeks leading up to the eclipse that we would see more violence, more earthquakes, more, even, you name it, okay, more chaotic conditions. So it's really to do with the electromagnetic fields of our Earth because of the alignment with the sun, moon, and the Earth. So the old astrologers knew everything, really. Okay, so this is a discovery. I finally found with Google search image that the image, this is a woodcut, and it was a chart, according to them, the Zodiac with Venus, Cupid, and a bishop saint. Okay, so the artist was called Hans Boldong, and it roughly saying that it was the first half of the 16th century. And I thought, well, how come they don't mention that there's a solar eclipse in this chart? Okay, and look at where it is. It's in the Leo sector. And I'm thinking, wow, we're going to be having an eclipse in the Leo sector next week. And I thought, I wonder. But then let's just zoom into that, because I could see that Saturn, there's Jupiter, and it looks like Mars in this picture, okay? And so then I thought, well, I wonder what year Jupiter and Saturn were conjunct in Leo. Was there an eclipse in Leo at the same time? Okay, so of course I had a look, and what happened? Yes, so these charts are from AstroSeek, okay, and these are not all of them, I didn't do every year, but I went from 1000 to 2056 of all the conjunctions between Jupiter and Saturn. And I wanted to see, in that period, was there also a solar eclipse? So you can see in that year, in 1683, there were 3 conjunctions, so triple conjunction of Jupiter Saturn in Leo between 14 to 19 degrees of Leo. Wow. I thought, actually, the eclipse on the 12th of August this year is at 20 degrees of Leo. So, me being who I am, I'm thinking this is incredible. I thought there's got to be a link somehow, okay? And so let's have a look, because the actual eclipse happened on the 24th of July, 1683. And you can see that the eclipse is at 1 degree of Leo, okay? And then you can see Jupiter, Saturn, Mercury, and obviously the nodes are in Leo, the north nodes in Leo. So yes, there was a conjunction. They're not exactly conjunct at the eclipse, but in that year they formed a conjunction, okay? And also I noticed that in that year, if I showed you that the chart, the woodcut was showing actually over, no, where's my hand? That way, over there. You can see the square to Mars. He's actually noted that on this woodcut, okay? Wow, I'm thinking this is incredible. Now, look at the Regulus. Now, I always talk about Regulus. Regulus is the heart of Leo, the lion, the Royal Star. And in this period, it was actually at 25 degrees of Leo, and Jupiter was right on that point, was conjunct. So, I love anything to do with the fixed stars as well, all right? So what's the next thing? This is Regulus here, all right? Now, what was happening historically in 1683-82? This was there was Louis the 14th and the French clergy were in a major dispute over royal versus papal authority. That's so Leo. And also there was a comet the year before, in Halley's Comet appeared. And then in 83, the Ottoman siege of Vienna began on the 14th of July. On the 24th of July, the total eclipse occurred 10 days after the siege. And the 12th of September, there was also the Battle of Vienna, became a major turning point in the Ottoman-Habsburg struggle. Now, Leo, obviously we know, is all to do with leadership and kings and queens, the Royal Star, because of Regulus. And the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction was a major mundane marker for political and social cycles. So this lunar eclipse occurring in Leo, plus the Jupiter-Saturn, would have been something that they were watching. The astrologers of the time would have been watching this happening. I believe this is very much linked to what Nostradamus is doing. I might do another video on that because I'm doing a bit of research on it. But I don't know who they're saying this bishop is. To me, it looks like a papist, more like a female pope. This is supposed to be Cupid and Venus on the side here. But this actually was foretelling of something coming up. It wasn't, because this occurred in 1683, okay? So the other thing is that you can see that because it's conjunct Regulus, we can see that in the history there were struggles involving rulers and sovereignty. In the Ottoman assault, Vienna, Spain entering conflict as well. So Spain was also in the picture back then, okay? And I've noticed that again, kings and territorial power. So he was, Louis XIV was like the Sun King, they called him, was expanding French territory, and the Habsburgs monarchy was fighting for Vienna. So, like Nostradamus mentions this. Like if you've got any of his quatrains, he mentions Africa, Morocco, Spain, the Strait of Gibraltar, and there's lots of messages about this time. Right, I've actually got a quote of him from 1683 as well. So it's intriguing. I mean, if you think of what Nostradamus would have had in those days, pretty much what they was watching was a Jupiter-Saturn, because that's such a regular pattern. Every 20 years, they form a conjunction. Every 60 years, they form a conjunction in the same part of the Zodiac. Then there's a bigger cycle, the 240, the 800-year cycle. And then eclipses, obviously, again, is a pattern that is easy to study because of the nodal cycle. So this is the actual eclipse that I've put on the chart for the 24th of July, 1683, and you can see the lines going through, culminating over China and some of Tokyo and Japan, very similar to what we've got now, because I'm using the Geodetic sign. It was going through Europe as well, okay? So why? I thought to myself, what is the connection between these two, right? And of course, I always find something, and it opens up another rabbit hole for me. The actual difference between these years is 443 years, and I knew that to be an important number through my Gann work, because it's actually 7 times 7 times 7. It's actually 7 cubed, which is the same as 7 complete cycles of 49 years. Now, if you know anything biblical, this is Septimal Law, which I've written about quite a bit. So 7 cycles of 49 years later, the sun is eclipsed again in Leo. And it wasn't in Regulus. It's not in Regulus this year because of precession. Regulus is actually at 0 degrees of Virgo, but it's still in the tropical sign of Leo. So this connection here, for me, is a lot to do with how Nostradamus was doing his forecasting, and also Safariel in other things that I've written about. I've written about a few of these things in my book, Dawn of the Seventh Day. And I actually have a chart of Gann where he was using this 749 square of these years. So it's not random. these are connected. Even though I haven't talked about the Saros or the Metonic, it's just the fact that this 343 years is really a biblical cycle. And you can see that with those issues in Spain, as there were 343 years ago. And I suppose if you look at history, maybe in the comments sections, if you want to look back to 1683 and you want to, you find something historical that is we can see now, or areas, locations and countries that are also in the spotlight once again from that period, drop me some notes, because I love this sort of historical study, okay, and observation. So I was blown away. So this woodcut was really, the one behind me, was actually a prophetic like vision, not a vision, but of what was coming up. And I believe that this was obviously another thing that Safariel and Nostradamus, more importantly, was looking at, and Gann too, because Gann, called number 7 the fatal year, and the 49th year, the fatal year. And so very much linked to this, because what we're doing is they were using just up to Saturn, and because that's all they could see, but they had a system of like planetary rulers. And so at the 49th year, you would get a double whammy. If you started with Saturn, you would get a Saturn. Anyway, this is what I love, and I just wanted to show you, because when I encounter these charts, or just, alignments and historical events, and that woodcut behind me, this is total intrigue. Why did it come into my awareness? Because it's actually connected to this eclipse that's happening on the 12th of August. So yeah, I just wanted to put it out there. It's just something that, this is why I love astrology and cycles, and I research it so much. And obviously I love eclipses, and the Jupiter-Saturn cycle I've written about a lot, because Gann used it for stock market trading. He calls it the Master 20-year forecasting cycle. Then he had a financial timetable, which was based on the nodal cycle and Metonics, Saros, all of those. So yeah, it's all linked. So anyway, thanks for listening. And Regulus does come up a lot in all these observations that I do. Remember, he's the sign of the kings. So anything royal, they would have been watching for. The fact that it had a triple conjunction in Leo could have been them also wanting to know who was going to have an impact on, because Kepler believed that the triple conjunction of Jupiter-Saturn in Pisces was what the three magi were looking for when they were expecting a savior to come along in the sign of Pisces. So, yeah, Pisces is a lot different to Leo. Anyway, thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed that one. And follow for more information. I always come up with things. If I find something, I just put it out there, and then it leads to something else, okay? So thanks for listening.